today's conclave is titled From a Self-Life Doorstep Driving Through Agile, Resilient, Demand-Driven Supply Chain. And I agree, I would argue everyone words in the title is doing a real work. Agile because standing still is no longer an option. Resilient because the last few years have taught every industry that disruption isn't the exception anymore. It's the operation conditions, and demand driven because the old playbook of forecast, produce, push is being replaced by something far more reactive, far more real time, and far less forgiving of mistakes. So let me introduce the panelists here today. I think it is already introduced. So today we have the Shishir, as well as Swarnendu and Dhruv. And it's a really privilege for me to be with you for such a veteran army persons here at this stage. So let me ask some questions about the global logistics, how is it's going on right now. So my first question is going to Swarnendu sir. So as global corporations actively pursue China plus one, and can also say it like that, global strategies, India's supply chain are being integrated into global network like never before. From a frontline perspective, how your ground teams adapting to meet strict international compliance, speed and quality standards while navigating local infrastructure and realities?
Okay, thank you for the question. Actually, China Plus, I see it as an opportunity. What Dr. Vandana was also talking about, it is the opportunity for India to become Atmanirbhar, and world has given us this opportunity. Because of the supply chain disruptions, what has happened, the world has to be forced to look at various contingencies and various redundancies. China was the manufacturing hub, and now the world is looking for various other countries. And this is where India today plays a very important role. How to live up to this expectation is a challenge that is in front of us. They say every challenge is an opportunity, and for us, Global Plus One is that opportunity. It is important for us to understand how we play up to this opportunity. First thing first, what are our strengths? First strength is demography. We have good people, and this strength has to mature in a manner that it can live up to the requirement of global standards. An example, last year, when the problem of tariffs were going on, in the Chennai hub, within few hours, there were 6 flights that had taken off for iPhones. All the problems that were there in the world while Trump government was to lay the tariff was seen and a solution was given. We did it. World has now started believing in our manufacturing capabilities. How do we do it? We need to not be audit ready when there are sample checks. We have to be audit compliant by ourselves. What I mean by this is that every item that moves out of our factory has to be audit ready. Because at the end of the day, it is quality that matters. When you have to play at the global stage, it is important for us to understand the importance of quality. How it can come through is by making our local workforce aware that it matters. While quality is good, it will be accepted at all the levels. After demography, it is also infrastructure that will come into fore, which will make it important for us to become a global manufacturer. When I talk about infrastructure, it is not only the facilities of producing those goods, but the last mile connectivity, transportation of those goods, and the checking facilities for those goods, which have also to be bring to a place where it can actually happen and manufacturing can see the light of the day. After infra and people, it is important to work upon processes. Now, when we see China, what they have done is they have made a factory lineup for everything. Be it the students and the children who are participating in Olympics, they have made a factory lineup for that. When we have to play at the global stage, we have to think about those factory lineup, and we'll have to prepare ourselves to be ready for that. I think China Plus is a very, very important opportunity for all of us to become Atmanirbhar in the field that the world is looking upon us. There are other countries in fray, call it Vietnam, call it Mexico. But when you take the name of these countries and when you take the name of India, you know where we stand. And it is important for all of us who are looking today at supply chain in this grand manner to make India where it belongs to. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for such a brief details on this. So going ahead to Shishir, sir, today. So a question to you, sir, is these days, if we can see the world where we talk a lot about AI, IoT, and automated route optimization in the boardroom. However, the Indian frontline workforce is highly diverse, multilingual, and often comfortable with traditional methods. Then, from your perspective, I would like to understand how we are going to deploy advanced technology at the edge without alienating our workforce.
It's very, very pertinent and a very well framed question. Thank you for that. When we see and when we look at our employees, those who are the people on ground, let it be armed forces or let it be at any field, the people, the actual people on ground, those who are rubbing their shoulders against each other and those who are making the things happen, they are not trained or they are not ready to welcome. But always it is considered that transformation is a technological problem. It is a technological challenge to every one of us. But let me prove you that it is not a technological challenge and it is a people's challenge. Let's go back 200 years and let's time travel. So what was the first revolution that happened in the world? Anyone? So it was the industrial revolution that happened around 1950s or at that time, 1850s, something at that time. During industrial revolution, people told that now the machines will take over and the humans will die. But we survived. Our grandfathers, great-great-grandfathers, they were there and they gave birth to us and we are here. Skip 1850, come to 1870. Then came the telephones. People said now nobody will go to anyone and people will be in their homes only. But still we survived and we came to 1880, 1890. At that time, a strange thing happened in and around Europe. There was a strike and that strike was of street lighters. Now who were those people? The street lighters were people who used to light lamps, and there were physical lamps. They used to put oil in those lamps, put a ladder and light the lamp, and they had a union. And when electricity came, there was hue and cry, and these people said that we will die and there will be no work for us. And it is a good case study to read that how people oppose technology. And people said we don't want electricity. Imagine, we would have been sitting in dark now. And still we survived that. And then came automobiles, horse carriage. People told, oh, we'll die. Then came the famous atomic energy. Then came computers, and still then came before that TVs came. And again we were in that debate that whether TV is bane or boon. Then came the internet. Still people said no, it is going to kill all the jobs. One computer will do 10 people's job and there will be no jobs. So this debate is going on. Just 10 years before, when we were at the cusp of starting our careers, or in mid of our careers, most of us, that time there was something related to big data, cloud, and everybody said our data will be lying in open and there will be no data secrecy. And now we are not worried about that. And now we are at the stage where we are saying that AI will take over. Let me assure you, it is not going to take over. We will remain, we are very strong, and we are there. We will be there. Don't worry. Taking cue from this, there is a very famous शेर of Nida Fazli. He said, अगर आप वक्त से हमसे वफा करते तो हम आपके होते. अगर आप वक्त पे हमसे वफा करते तो हम आपके होते. गैरों की तरह हम भी आपके प्यारे होते. So we have to do wafa with the technology, and we don't have to fight with it. We just have to go with it as we have gone through all these technological changes that have happened. So the transformation will happen, and we have to embrace it. We have to take our followers, take the frontline workers with us. Let me give you 3 examples that how people implement change in their organizations. The first change that I would like to tell is about simplifying the technology. Now everybody, whosoever is in their companies, they have their own company's app. Like I am from Taj, so I have my Taj app, and everybody has their own company's app, where all the HR related aspects, your leave, everything that comes in an app, and it's very handy. But do you know who started this idea? Anybody from Unilever here? So Unilever is the company who started this app idea. So when they thought that, and when they planned that we will be completely digitized and our network will be connected all over, so they came up with this app, where each and every employee was kind of forced to put his own mind into the work which is related to himself. And from there they were made tech savvy, and subsequently they accepted that technology. Let me give you a recent example. The example of fast food chains where self-help kiosks are there. Just 2-3 years back, when you used to go, we used to fight with that man that why this kiosk is there and why you are not taking my order. And nowadays we are very comfortable by self-ordering our own food. So this we have seen. So the technological changes should be simple. Make it simple, people will accept it. The second thing is the Kaizen way that the Toyota has told us. At many places, even the place where I work at Taj, the technological changes or the changes that are required are driven from the top. So the floor people decide what change they want. And when they propose the change, when they are the owners, the change happens at very rapid pace. So let them be the owners of the change, let them be the transformers. The frontline workers, they really give very, very good ideas. In army, we have something known as idea innovation, and the best ideas always is from one of the Jawans who are actually handling that equipment. So the flashy MTechs and MBAs, they are not required. The people who are on ground, they are required to give and tell us what the transformation is and what they want. The third thing that I would like to tell is, in this I would like to give example of UPS. UPS is a supply chain giant, we know all of them. Now they launched one app which was route optimization app. Now the local truck drivers, they opposed this app and they told that we don't want this route optimization app because there are errors. So the best approach for a manager would be just put his weight down on that and tell that okay, it is not accepted, you have to follow. And the other approach which UPS adopted was they told okay, you don't want to follow, there is an override button, you override it. And they realized that the local knowledge that the drivers had was far better than the app could tell. And then they combined both the approaches and they further developed their app. So this is how we should take the opinion or the inputs from the frontline workers. So that is the second thing. And the third thing is upskilling. We really can't replace people. As in infantry or as in army, we say we need boots on ground. You may capture moon, but until unless your people are there on moon, it will be not yours. So until unless there are people in your industry, there are people in your firm, there are people in your factory, whatever AI you bring, you need people to take decisions. And the best way is to empower them. So that is what I think. We have to train our people, we have to empower them as Amazon, Siemens they are doing, and we'll be there, we'll thrive, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a great answer and very articulated. Thank you so much for this. So coming to the next one, to Dhruv sir here. The question to you is, Indian logistics requires balancing highly organized corporate network with fragmented informal local transport. When a sudden disruptions happens, like we have seen very recently in terms of Humor's war of UAE, be it a global maritime delay or a local state border bottleneck, what frontline leadership traits or operational framework are critical to keeping the supply chain moving during the disruption?
Okay, thank you for this question. And like the panel introducer gentleman who introduced us said, the stakes for us are very high when we are designing the supply chain. The supply chain resilience for us is not an afterthought. It is built into the systems. Because for us, the failure is not an option. For us, any failure would lead to the loss of lives. So any supply chain design, when it is conceived, formalized and finally actualized, the redundancies are very well built into the systems. Now, once I interact with many of my corporate friends, they always question me with a counter argument that for corporate, the bottom line is very important. How do we justify the ROI to their hierarchy while building or suggesting any kind of measure which will bring in more resilience into the system? For that, I would suggest a measure called a cost of resilience. Now, resilience in the present parlance should not be taken as a cost, it should be taken as an insurance. There are ways and measures like we build into the security, like pooling in of risks, pooling of facilities, etc. That is how you can justify the cost of resilience to your hierarchy. Now, talking about the frameworks. Now, any response to any disruption, I feel if we are acting once the disruption has happened, we have already missed the bus. We need to think resilience in 3 steps. That is readiness, response and resurgence. What I mean by that? Now, readiness is every action we take before the disruption has happened. Now, this may include your creating your contingencies, your alternate supply designs, going for alternate procurements, suppliers, maybe creating alternate warehouses, building in alternate supply chain routes, etc. All these are part of the preparedness actions. Response. Now, that is all the systems, SOPs you have made over the period of time, they are put to test. How your teams integrate together to build a response. And third part is resurgence. That is generally forgotten in any response mechanism. At the point of resurgence, you have to understand and identify why that disruption occurred. The lessons have to be drawn, and finally, the systems have to be revamped. What design and conceptual changes are required to be done that disruption does not happen again. We always panic during the disruption, but very quickly forget the lessons that are required to be implemented. So that is the third part of the resurgence. Now, this concept of triple R, which I call it readiness, response and resurgence, is very easy to hear. But how do we build systems that bring in the early warning or the predictability into the system? For that, I will bring in another framework which in Army parlance, we now normally call SITREP. As a full form, it is called Situation Report. But taking the first 6 letters of that, SITREP. So S stands for situational awareness. Generally, once we are working in our domains, at times we get very, very siloed in our particular domains. Situational awareness means you have to be aware not just what is happening in the system, you have to be aware about what is the weather pattern which is coming up, how the demand, mood swings are happening with the customers, any geopolitical developments that are happening, what all marketing plan that is coming up, any campaign which is likely to disrupt your supply plan. So that is a complete overall situational awareness you need to have. I stand for integrated teams. Generally, when we talk about risk, supply chains are put at the front, and all the supply chain professionals like us are put to test and asked, what is your preparedness for this particular action? The integrated teams, once they are built, they will, for any supply chain risk, the integrated teams are something which will give the proper response. This will include the personnel from finance, personnel from procurement, personnel from marketing, even the management. So these integrated risk response teams have to be built into the culture of the company so that they can act in a manner, in a coherent manner against any risk. T stands for technology. We have been talking since morning on a number of AI-related tools, initiatives that the companies are taking. But how these technology has been integrated into the decision-making by means of predictive analytics or anything else, how these technology systems are integrated, whether the decisions taken through these technologies can actually be implemented or understood by the people on ground, that is the technology. The R. The R stands for the reliability of the data. We all understand garbage in, garbage out. This is the data you feed in terms of situational awareness, which I said as part of the S. This will give you a better response quotient once you act. E stands for evaluation. Now, after you have done all these integration of team, corrected the data and all, now you have to evaluate what options are available with you. And finally, the P part, it amounts to the pattern mapping. Like I said, as part of the resurgence, you do a pattern mapping, what all risks are emerging at which all point of time, and how do you do some structural or design changes that the risks are completely eliminated from your systems. Again, to further evaluate it and build proper systems, I again have another system called Combat Framework, but I think for this audience it will be too much, and to the time constraint, probably not the right time to describe it here, but I have described that on my LinkedIn as in a form of article. Anyway, I would welcome the views. We can always discuss there. But that is the kind of various frameworks you need to have in your systems so that your response can be coherent and integrated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So thank you so much for such a great answer. So now my question is again coming to Swarnendu sir, that India is highly vulnerable to Middle Eastern maritime disruptions due to our energy imports and trade lanes. So as a freight rate spike and shipping capacity faces severe delays, how can frontline leaders in India maintain operational agility? What practical workarounds such as multimodal rerouting or digital tracking are our ground terms using to handle the current chaos?
Thank you so much for the question. So, Hormuz was not known maybe so lively before 28th of February. What has happened today is that one disruption has taught us many things. People, while operations, while we do planning, we talk about plan A, we talk about plan B. Today, Hormuz has made us understand the requirement of plan H. And when I talk about plan H is, can can there be a matrix to understand how resilient is your supply chain? I will draw a parallel what has happened in geopolitics to what has happened because of geography. 4th October 2023, the night, there was a flood in Sikkim. Today, we are talking about AI to reroute, as Shishir sir was bringing out, that AI can help us reroute and understand which is the most optimized route. What happens when there is no route? Okay. That is where we stand today with the challenge of Strait of Hormuz. There were 134 vessels which were used to pass through. It has come down to 88, it has come down to 34, and today the vessels are passing in a dark sense, wherein the AISs are not on, the GPSs are not on. We always track the delivery of e-commerce to our home, and we are not able to today track the vessels, which are carrying oil, which are carrying very, very important material which is needed by the country. Now talking about India, we are about 90% dependent of oil from all these places. What happened? Both the arteries of the Middle East got cut at the same point of time. Plan A failed, Plan B failed. When we went to the vessels went going through the Cape of Good Hope, there was a price cost and there was a time cost. And that is the challenge that all of us are discussing today. What do we need to do? Basically, we need to understand what is the weakest link in our supply chain. Now this we need to do while we are in peacetime, as we call, and while we are not in operations. When everything is going good, the supply chain managers are not asked for, because everyone knows that the delivery will come through. And when things go bad, the supply chain managers are blamed for it. The way to resolve this is, please understand every link of your supply chain and try to test the strength of each of the link. When we are dependent on a single source, that is the time when the supply chain may fail. When I talk about single source, example is if you are dependent only on a single vendor for an item, and say tomorrow that vendor is not ready to provide you that item, what happens? Where is the alternate source of supply? During the Sikkim flood, what happened when there were no routes? We had to undertake air maintenance of all the forward posts. Our troops were stranded ahead, the tourists were stranded ahead, and the food, the rations, the fuel was stocked in limited quantity because of the geographical necessity. Now when there are no routes and you have to undertake air sorties, the stores were available where the source of supply is. That is, while I was commanding in Bengdubi, in Siliguri, the stores were available there. We could raise the air effort also. But the cost of air effort is very, very high. And we need to understand this, that we cannot fail in few of the supply chains, and supply chains in army, in armed forces are such where we cannot fail. A similar example could be of the supply chain structure that is there in Siachen Glacier, wherein with the logistics, we are supporting our troops who are deployed in Operation Meghdut. Now please understand that is something which is in very inhospitable terrain. It is the highest battlefield. And Indian Army with its resources, with its magnificent supply chain are managing troops there. Okay. We need to learn how to predict disruptions. If we are ready to learn and understand where the disruptions can happen, maybe we will be in a better place to handle the supply chain requirement of tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a great explanation on the state of Hormuz today and understanding about how the supply chain works there. So coming to the next questions, it will be a rapid fire, like just a one-word answer you need to provide there. So my question is to Shishir sir that basically for the to survive the current global disruptions, right? So what is the best way? It is a cost optimization or it is a supply chain redundancy?
I think resilience is the best way to go for.
Okay, great. So also for the tracking of cargo during crisis, as Swarnendu sir have talked about, right? So for the tracking of cargo during crisis, advanced predictive visibility tool or ratless manual follow-ups, what will be the beneficial way?
I think in army we have a saying that whenever first bullet is fired, the first one to get killed is your plan. So the planning will go for 6 when something happens. So we should have autonomy with the people, and the frontline people, the people on ground, they should have autonomy to take decisions. But that should be in a disciplined manner.
So just quick
autonomy in a disciplined manner.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. So question again to Dhruv sir here, that the future of the Indian frontline, AI-driven automation, is it with the AI-driven automation or with the human-centric upskilling?
Okay, I will say AI-driven with human in the loop, because the last decision maker should be the human, and it should not be the technology which is making the last decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So question to Dhruv sir now. So, will the current US-Iran conflict permanently shift global shipping away from traditional Middle Eastern maritime corridors? Yes or no?
Supply chains have a tendency to go back to original once, or rather the most economical way. So I feel once Hormuz is solved, supply chain will revert back to the original state. However, as I said in my answer also, the lessons must not be forgotten.
Thank you. And a last question to all of you together, that since everyone is talking about the frontline workers, right? So how you will see the India population, right? So it's a scaled, means to say as a people or as a workforce?
Well, I'll say AI-enabled workforce, which, rather than AI replacing workforce.
And I will say a workforce which is ready to accept change. Today it is AI, tomorrow it can be any other technology that can come into fore. But we need to have a workforce which is adaptable and resilient. So that is which is ready to change. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
To know what humans can do, you must visit Taj. Our workforce is way beyond, and it is way better than anybody else in the world. We will thrive, don't worry.
Great. Thank you so much for all of these questions that I've asked and answered very articulated way. Thank you for being with you here and sharing the stage with you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone.